Alright guys, we have a brand new update to one of the greatest anime decks ever created, which is Blue Eyes. I'm very excited for this deck profile. I tested this actually quite extensively. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. It's Blue Eyes, Despia Control. A lot of really cool synergies in this deck, but let's get started. We play 2 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. I tested this with 3 copies. Tested this, I kind of reduced it, increased it. I had it 3 copies at first, but I actually found better results with the 2. Sometimes Blue Eyes can be a little bit of a bricky card to draw in the control version of the build. We're not playing like trade-in and stuff, so there's not a ton of easy ways to dump this into the graveyard. And generally, fusion summoning it is kind of minus, so if it's going from hand. Like if you fusion summon from deck, it's awesome. If you fusion summon from the graveyard, it's awesome. But fusion summoning from hand sometimes can be, like I said, a bit minus. We generally want to avoid it, so we're playing 2 copies instead. Then we play 2 copies of Jet. This is like the heart and soul of the deck. It's criminally underrated, this card. It's extremely good. So basically what this card does is when a card is destroyed on the field, you can special summon it. As long as you have a Blue Eyes in the graveyard. That effect is just insane because a card can be destroyed anywhere. If your opponent activates Dragonic Diagram and pops a card in their own hand, this card's coming out. If you destroy your opponent's monster by battle, this card's coming out. If you destroy your own card, this card's coming out. This card comes out no matter what. If a card gets destroyed anywhere, this card comes out. That effect is just broken. It makes it so this card just... And every single turn you get a free Jet Dragon. You can link away with it, you can fusion summon, you can do whatever you want with it. It's a free resource. It has a continuous effect on top of that. All other cards you control cannot be destroyed. If you summon 2 Jet Dragons, nothing on your field can be destroyed. Which is really, really, really strong. Because it's tough to get rid of. No one's really expecting that in a control deck. You know, you set 3 cards face down, you summon this, your opponent activates Harpy's Feather Duster, nothing gets popped. It's great, they just go minus. And then it has one more effect, which is when this card battles, you can bounce a card your opponent controls, which comes in handy sometimes, but is definitely the least useful of the 3 effects, just because you already have to enter the battle phase. But yeah, really, really good effects for the control build of Blue Eyes. I used to play 3 copies of Jet Dragon, but I actually reduced the 3 copies to 2 copies, and I'm testing this new card, which is the Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. Like I said, I used to play 3 Jets, and then I didn't play this card, but this card is actually more plus, technically speaking, because basically in the end phase, what you do is you send just the regular Blue Eyes, and then you activate a stone. You summon this Abyss, and then Abyss lets you search a polymerization on summon, and during the end phase it allows you to search a level 8 or higher dragon from your deck, which can usually just be the Jet Dragon, which is actually technically more plus because you get an Abyss on field, a Jet Dragon in hand, and you get a polymerization in hand, and Jet actually activates in the graveyard, and it activates in the hand, so you basically get 2 more cards than just summoning a Jet, because you can just use the stone to summon a Jet and just be done there, or you can summon the Abyss, search the Jet, search the polymerization, have the Abyss on field. You basically go +2 instead of just summoning a monster. The only drawback to summoning Abyss over just summoning a Jet straight up is if your opponent top decks like a Harpy's Feather Dust, they activate it, you technically don't have the Jet on the field yet, so your back row will get popped, and then you will special summon the Jet from your hand. But Abyss is actually really good. Like I said, I'm just kind of testing it. When I played it before, I played 3 Jets, but Abyss is... I'd say, like I said, it's pretty decent. Then we play 3 copies of White Stone of Ancients. This is, like I said, this is a control, slow-paced build of Blue Eyes. So this card is actually very, very strong. One of the big drawbacks of Blue Eyes is that it's extremely slow. But, like I said, the stone, and that's probably the problem with the stones being really slow. You have to wait till the end phase. But because we slowed things down, we play so many trap cards that can slow our opponent from really killing us too fast. The stone is actually completely perfect, and we usually can resolve it. Then we play 1 copy of Dogmatic Ecclesia. We do play the Nadir Servant. You only need to play 1 copy of this because even if your opponent kills it, you can add back from graveyard with Nadir Servant, or you can add back. You can add from deck or add back from graveyard, so it doesn't matter. We play 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz. This is the structure deck common version. He's like a walking super poly, sort of. You technically don't want to draw him because you just want to use the branded fusion to just send him from the deck to the graveyard. But what is cool about him is he's actually a dragon, and that actually has a ton of different synergies in the deck, because when you fusion summon, for example, for Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, you can actually use Fallen of Albaz as material. That's one of the really cool synergies of this card. You can also make Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres with him, because again, he is a dragon. There are a lot of benefits to him being a dragon. It's a really, really random, beneficial thing. I don't see how he's a dragon. He just looks like a dude to me. But yeah, he's cool in that way. He is a dragon, and he helps the deck. We play 1 copy of Remus, and then we also play 2 copies of Dragon's Ravine. So at first I was playing just straight up 3 Dragon's Ravine, but I was like, wait a second, Remus is just objectively better. Playing 1 Remus and 2 Dragon's Ravine is objectively better, because sometimes you have hands that are very monster heavy. Like, I'll show you an example. Like, sometimes you'll get like a weird hand, because you're playing Blue Eyes, so sometimes you get like weird hands. You'll get like a hand like this. You've got like all of these monsters, and then you'll get a Dragon's Ravine. So what you can do is you can activate Dragon's Ravine, pitch a Stone of Ancients in order to add a Dragoonity monster, which would be the Dragoonity Remus. Then you can activate the Remus to search another copy of Ravine, activate the Ravine, and then you can pitch the Blue Eyes, and then you can, now you just basically got all of these cards that were in your hand into the graveyard, instead of having them just kind of dead cards in your hand. So in that way, the Dragon's Ravine is just, the 2 Dragon's Ravine and the 1 Remus is just objectively better, because Remus you could just search off the Dragon's Ravine and empty out your hand if you need to, and if you draw it, you can just discard it to get the Ravine. Either way, you're getting to the Ravine anyway, so it's just better in that way. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. I understand this is expensive. I actually wasn't even playing this card until somewhat recently. I was playing the Pot of Extravagance that comes in the structure deck, the new Fallen of Albaz structure deck. And honestly, Prosperity, I would say, is better, but in a lot of situations, the Extravagance is actually better. If you go for an absolute pure control build, like not even have any of the branded stuff in it, just go all traps, all Blue Eyes cards, I actually think that the Extravagance is even better. It's just the problem with Extravagance sometimes is you can't play a very diverse extra deck, which is completely fine, but we are playing a bunch of, Fallen of Albaz fusion monsters, so we can't afford to really banish them and then not have the ability to play them. So that's why we play Prosperity over Extravagance, but honestly, you can actually reduce some of the monsters in the deck and just go right for the Prosperity. For the Extravagance, you just have to reduce some of the versatility in the extra deck, and that's it. Then we play 3 copies of Branded Fusion. This card is like another heart and soul of the deck. Basically what this card does is lets you summon a monster that has Fallen of Albaz in its text. From like a fusion monster, Fallen of Albaz in its deck, but you can send materials from the deck, which is just insane. Every time they let you fuse from deck, it ends up getting banned or hit or broken in some manner. This also locks you into fusion summons only. So for that reason, it's kind of fair. Because it does lock you into fusion summons, and it does search. It allows you to do a lot of cool things. Like, for example, Albion, the Branded Dragon, the materials for this are extremely generic. It's just a light monster and Fallen of Albaz. So that light monster could be any monster virtually in our deck. You can send Blue Eyes, you can send Jet, you can send the White Stone of Ancients. It doesn't matter where you send the White Stone of Ancients from, it triggers in the graveyard during the end phase. So basically, it allows us to do a lot of really, really cool things, set up our graveyard, and basically get a Jet on board. We play 2 copies of Nadir Servant. This is like a disgusting combo. Branded Fusion first, Nadir Fusion second. You get so much, you go so plus when you get the 2 of them. Because Branded Fusion basically is, I think, like a +2 or 3, and then you activate the Nadir Servant, that's another +2. You basically, like, you get a full hand worth of value just off of those 2 cards. But basically, yeah, this searches Ecclesia, and it actually searches Fallen of Albaz, and it can actually add back Fallen of Albaz from the graveyard, and then you can fusion summon it with it again. So, like, if you ended up using both of your Fallen of Albazes, or they ended up in the graveyard, you just activate Nadir Servant, add it back, and you're good to go, fusion summoning all over again like nothing happened. Another card we play is Ultimate Fusion. Ultimate Fusion can also shuffle back materials into the deck, which is really cool, because, like, again, if you put Fallen of Albaz into the graveyard with the Branded Fusion, you can activate Ultimate Fusion, put the Fallen of Albaz back, and then the following turn activate Branded Fusion all over again, and kind of like recycle the materials, which is really cool. This is like the built-in fusion spell for Blue Eyes. It's a really, really strong, really good fusion spell if you know how to use it appropriately. It can help you dodge around stuff. If your opponent targets like one of your blue eyes to banish them or something like that, you activate Ultimate Fusion, shuffle back the blue eyes white dragon into your deck, and now you just dodged around it. We play one copy of Bingo Machine Go, and I didn't mention this before, but the reason I play 1 and 1 of these is because you can actually just set them into the back row with True Light, so we don't need to play more than that. And Bingo Machine Go, I've had my problems with Bingo Machine Go, but it's one of the better cards to set off of the True Light, so I play it just because it can add things to hand. The only thing, again, the only issue with True Light that I've always had, the only issue that I've had with Bingo Machine Go is it's a very inconsistent search card. It doesn't guarantee you the card that you're getting unless you're playing 3 of that card, in which case you're more likely to open it than not open it. But regardless, I'm still playing it because it's just one of the better cards to set into the back row. Then we play one copy of Polymerization. This is searchable off of the Abyss Dragon, and it allows us to go into a variety of things. Like you can make Tyrant Dragon off of it. You can make the Chimera off of it. You can make a lot of different things off of it. Generally speaking, it's just very good to get a free +1 out of your deck. Then we play 3 copies of True Light. This is for the trap cards. We play 3 copies of True Light. This card is really strong. It allows you to special summon a Blue Eyes. First of all, it makes all Blue Eyes White Dragons, basically all Blue Eyes White Dragons, not be able to be targeted, which is really, really good. On top of that, it has another effect where if it leaves the field and is sent to the graveyard, then your entire board gets destroyed. But what's awesome about Jet Dragon is if you have Jet Dragon and they try to destroy this basically protects this from destruction. Also, what's cool about this, that's cooler than Eternal Soul, the Dark Magician version of this, is this card is actually, it has to specifically go to the graveyard in order to destroy your own board. With the Dark Magician one, if it goes to hand, it destroys your board. If it gets banished, it destroys your board. But this one has to specifically go to graveyard to destroy your board, so it's actually less annoying. And then it has 2 effects that are very positive, which allows you to set a Blue Eye Spell or Trap card from your deck directly into your back row, which is really cool. It can be any Blue Eye Spell and Trap as long as you don't have it in your graveyard. And then on top of that, it has another effect where it can just basically special summon Blue Eyes from your hand or from your graveyard at any time, I guess. Yeah, it's a trap effect, so you can just activate it at any time, which is, both effects are really cool. You can summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon, or you can set a back row. I would say in most ways better than the Dark Magician one, but Dark Magician makes it unaffected. This prevents you or your monsters from getting targeted. Next, we play 2 copies of Dogmatic Punishment, one of the best traps ever printed, and one of the cheapest traps ever printed, which is really, really awesome. We play 3 copies of Skill Drain. If you resolve this, you basically win, because most decks cannot play through a Skill Drain these days. Of course, you have to watch for the Adventure package, but we do play a good amount of trap cards, so if one trap card doesn't stop them, some other trap card will. We play 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Again, one of the better trap cards ever printed. Again, these trap cards are really up to you. I was testing a lot of different trap cards, like Guard Dragon's Cataclysm, Ice Dragon's Prison, Impermanence, Anti-Spell Fragment. I was testing so many different trap cards. These are just the ones that I've landed on. Torrential Tribute. But again, play whatever you're comfortable with. I played 3 copies of Gozen Match. This card is really, really strong in the metagame right now. The second they summon that Rite of Aramesia token, the second they summon that token, you flip Gozen Match, and they are locked into that token. They can't do anything else. They have to come up with a way to get rid of that token before they can do anything else. Yeah, and it's an Earth token. It's very good against Prank Kids because they're basically dead. They summon that token, you flip this. They can't even get to their search card. They can't do anything. So Gozen Match is really, really strong against basically any matchup that plays the Adventure package. And then we play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Now the fortunate thing is you don't have to play a lot of hand traps because you're playing a very trap heavy deck, so even if you go second, you have so many floodgates that you can typically break a board. Like basically Skill Drain plus Gozen Match can break most boards because you just activate it one after the other. And a lot of negates now, a lot of the modern negates in the game are very single use, kind of like Baron de Fleur is a single use card. Herald of the Arclight is a single-use card because it has to tribute itself for cost. So a lot of the negates are actually single-use, and then they have to go back to their turn and actually, attempt to play. Yeah, same Phoenix. The Griffin Rider is another single-use card. It shuffles itself into the deck, and now they have to actually continue to play. So fortunately, you don't actually have to play a ton of hand traps. You basically can just let your opponent combo off and then just deal with their board afterwards. And then another really good going second trap, which is the Ice Dragon's Prison. What I basically have tried to do is just play a lot of trap cards that have versatility going first and second. So even going second, most of these traps have a lot of use, like Solemn Strike and Skill Drain. Dogmatic of Punishment. Like Dogmatic of Punishment plus Solemn Strike will basically out any board in the game, because you just activate Dogmatic of Punishment, target something, they activate a negate, you Solemn Strike that monster, whatever's negating, and they can't do anything else unless they activate a counter trap. You resolve the punishment, and you basically get rid of 2 monsters plus the one that you strike. You get rid of 3 monsters with 2 cards. Yeah, it's just insane. Like your opponent can't really do anything about it, which is very fortunate, because again, it's a counter trap, so it's spell speed 3, and they cannot do anything about it. But let's get to the extra deck. For the extra deck, we are playing a variety of cool cards. We're playing 1 copy of Wind Pegasus Ad Ignister. You just send this to the graveyard, and it basically allows you to... you send this to the grave after Nadir Servant, and if a monster you control, a card you control is destroyed, you can shuffle a card your opponent controls into their deck. Then we play 1 copy of Link Rebo. This is for the stones. 1 copy of Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Sphere. This is when you go super duper like plus. You can just use any 2 dragons and make this. And this card is actually really good because it even works under Skill Drain, because it tributes itself for cost and then it resolves in the graveyard, which is really, really useful. You tribute it, summon a monster from the deck, and you bounce a card your opponent controls non-targeting. Under Skill Drain, that is absolutely disgusting. It can out literally anything. It can bounce any card. It can out anything. It's really, really good under Skill Drain. We play 1 copy of the Tribrigade Frigite. She basically, when she's sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card and then put 1 at the bottom of your deck, which is useful. 1 copy of Link Spider. A lot of these you can actually replace for Ghost Reaper targets if you're really, really feeling crazy, but some of these really aren't totally necessary. 1 copy of Lila, the Light Charmer. This is good against just other branded decks. You can steal things out of their graveyard, which is useful. But yeah, that's why we play the 1 copy of Lila there. We play the Albion, the Branded Dragon. We play 2 copies of that because you need that sort of for the grind game. 1 to send to search a branded card, and the other one one to send to search a branded card, and the other one to actually summon and then use the effect to banish things and special summon. Then we play 1 copy of Titanclad, the Ash Dragon. This is for the entire Dogmatica package. It can help you get to an Ecclesia pretty fast. 1 Mirror Jade. This is like the boss monster of the this is the boss monster of the entire Fallen of Albaz area. It's really, really strong. It basically lets you send a monster that includes Fallen of Albaz from your extra deck in its text or in its materials, and then after you do that, you can banish a monster on the field non-targeting. Super good. It helps you out. It helps you out things that are very much an issue. So that effect's pretty good, and you can't use that effect every turn, so you have to wait basically 2 turns to use that effect again. But this card is very, very, very strong, and it's basically a 1-card combo to get to this, and unless you just keep going off and off and off. 1 copy of Elder Entity Natis. Next we play 1 copy of Guardian Chimera. This card I'm letting somebody borrow, but it's really, really good. Basically, we search Polymerization absolutely for free, so you just use the Polymerization that we search in order to summon this, and it pops cards non-targeting. It can't be targeted if you have Polymerization in the graveyard, which we do summon this with Polymerization, and then on top of that, it lets you draw cards depending on the materials used from the field and from the hand. So this card is very, very, very strong, and we basically get to make it for free with the we basically get to make it for free because we get the Polymerization essentially for free. Next we play one copy of Tyrant Dragon. There's multiple ways in this deck that you can make it. You can make it with Ultimate Fusion. You can make it with, like I said, you can make it with Polymerization, Ultimate Fusion, and Albion. There's so many ways to make it, and this is the trap build of the card. This is a trap build of the deck, so this card is actually really, really strong in this deck because you basically can reset all of those powerful single-use traps over and over and over, like Ice Dragon's Prison, and just torment your opponent forever. We play one copy of Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This card is, you basically just send this to the graveyard again off of like Punishment or the Nadir Servant, and when a Blue Eyes is targeted, you can negate and destroy the card that targeted it. It's a graveyard effect. And then we play one copy of Predaplant Chimera Flesia. This can let you search a lot of different cards in the game, but it basically lets you search any card that says Fusion in its text or Polymerization. So you can search the Polymerization, Ultimate Fusion, anything like that. One interesting thing, I'm not playing this card, but you can actually search Fusion Deployment, which is really awesome. But I was testing it beforehand in the deck, but like I said, I don't think it does quite enough in this particular build. I basically replaced Fusion Deployment with Branded Fusion, just because Branded Fusion gives you so much more than just a Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment lets you reveal a monster, and then basically you can summon a Blue Eyes directly from your deck, because you can just reveal the Neo Tyrant Dragon, you can reveal the Neo Ultimate Dragon, and you can summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon directly from your deck, which is pretty good because it starts up your entire engine. And then you have a Blue Eyes ready to go, so if you have like a Abyss is live, you have Jet Dragons live, all those cards are basically live, which is really cool. But like I said, it's just I just think that the Branded Fusion is just so much better because it puts materials in grave and so much more. But let's do a couple combos, show a little bit of what the deck can do here. Right off the bat, I'll show you a quick combo here. Just one Branded Fusion, what it'll do for you, how much plus it can do. So we'll start with just one Branded Fusion, nothing else. Activate it. Hope it doesn't get ashed. So Branded Fusion, we're going to send materials from the deck to the graveyard. We are going to send a copy of Whitestone, and then we're going to send a copy of Albion, or the Fallen of Albaz. And with those targets, we're going to special summon the Albion, the Branded Dragon. We're going to activate the Albion, the Branded Dragon, in order to banish materials, in order to special summon a monster. We're going to banish the Fallen of Albaz, and then we're going to banish the Albion himself in order to special summon the Masquerade, the Ice Jade Dragon. So we're going to summon the Masquerade, the Ice Jade Dragon. This may not seem like a very assuming board. We're going to go to end phase. We're going to activate the Whitestone of Ancients in order to special summon the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. This may not seem like a huge, like really strong board, but I'm going to show you. Again, you got to remember, this is a control deck, so if one card can give you a lot of resources, it doesn't really make that big of a deal, because we'll have all types of trap cards in our back row that will allow us to do a lot more and prevent our opponent from doing too much. This is going to be our end board. We have multiple things going for us. The Mirror Jade allows us to send a monster from our extra deck to the graveyard that lists Fallen of Albaz in its text to the graveyard. So during our opponent's turn, we can send the Titanclad to the graveyard, and send this Titanclad to the graveyard in order to banish one of our opponent's monsters. We have that. None of our other cards can be destroyed other than the Jet Dragon. Again, our back row is totally safe. So we're going to send that. During the end phase of that turn, we can activate the Ash Dragon in order to special summon a Dogmatica or Fallen of Albaz from our deck. So during our opponent's end phase, we're going to activate that. We have our interruptions all over various floodgates. We can summon Ecclesia, and then we can activate Ecclesia in order to add a Dogmatica punishment. So basically off of one card, we just went +3, and then we got to banish our opponent's monster. So in a sense, it's kind of like a +4. So that's one of the various things that you can do. Again, this may not seem like a lot. In a combo deck, this wouldn't be that much, but you got to remember, the only thing our opponent can really do about this is just Ash this, or they can Veiler this. Other than that, our opponent really couldn't stop much of this. There's not a lot of resources that we're pouring into this. We're not playing a ton of bricks like we would in a combo deck, where you would have to continuously summon monsters from the deck that you hope you don't draw. All of this was just kind of cards that if we drew, we would have other uses for. So that's kind of like the cool thing about it. Let me show you another thing that you can do with the branded fusion that's sort of different from the other effect we just did. So here we've got branded fusion. We're going to activate branded fusion, and this time we're going to send the Fallen of Albaz. But in addition to Fallen of Albaz, instead of sending a stone, what we're going to send is a copy of Blue Eyes White Dragon. So we're going to send Blue Eyes White Dragon and stone to the graveyard. Fallen of Albaz and Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard. And now we're going to summon the Albion. We're going to activate the effect of Albion. We're going to banish the Blue Eyes White Dragon and the Fallen of Albaz. You can actually banish the Albion if you want to, and the Blue Eyes White Dragon, but generally you can just banish these two. Banish those two, and now you can, without searching any of the Blue Eyes fusions or polymerization, ultimate fusion, you can go directly into a Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, because this allows you to fusion summon anything. It doesn't even matter. So we're going to use that, and this card is really, really good. It's very good against trap decks. So in this particular case, if you're playing Eldritch and you're in a grind game, it's very good to summon out a Tyrant Dragon, because they don't actually have a ton of outs to Tyrant Dragon unless it's their turn. If they have an Eldritch in hand, they can out it, but a lot of their traps do nothing about this card, because this card is, like I said, totally unaffected by trap cards. So Skill Drain this card's unaffected by Skill Drain. If Skill Drain is activated after it's already face up on the field, it's unaffected by all of the various Conquistador, all of that stuff. They really don't have a ton of ways to out this, and this can attack all monsters your opponent controls. So even if they try to throw down traps, you can just basically just keep attacking all of their monsters, and when it battles, it can set a trap back face down. So if you have a trap in graveyard, you can set it, and that will really, really help in the grind game against Eldritch. So that is the Tyrant Dragon, very easy to summon. Now let me show you the final combo here. So basically what this combo is Branded Fusion, just because it's the greatest card ever printed. And then we play that and the Dragon's Ravine. So if you wanted to make this a two-card combo, like a flat two-card combo, you just play Dragon Shrine, and then you could just send the needed materials to the graveyard with Dragon Shrine, and that would be just fine. But yeah, we just need one card to discard, and that'll be good enough. So let's just say we have a random discard. There we go. I'll just put that face down. So Branded Fusion, the Dragon's Ravine, and the blank card for discard. So we're going to activate the Dragon's Ravine, discard the blank card, send a copy of White Stone of Ancients. So we're going to send the White Stone of Ancients. Then we're going to activate the Branded Fusion. We're going to send the materials to the graveyard, which in this particular case are going to be the White Stone of Ancients again. And then we are going to also send a copy of Fallen of Albaz. Now we're going to, I'm sorry, I have all that off screen. Fallen of Albaz is what we're going to send to the graveyard. And now we're going to summon the goat, which is the Albion Dragon. Albion's going to activate to banish materials out of the graveyard in order to fusion summon. We're going to banish the Albion himself, and we're going to banish the Fallen of Albaz. We play two, so we're not too concerned. So we're going to banish those guys in order to special summon from our extra deck the Mirror Jade. So now we're going to proceed to the end phase. We're going to activate White Stone of Ancients number 1 in order to special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Then we're going to activate the White Stone of Ancients number 2 in order to special summon a copy of Abyss Dragon. Abyss Dragon will now activate in the end phase, because, well, on summon it'll activate in order to add a copy of Polymerization. And then now, since we're in end phase, it'll activate to add a monster from our deck, a level 8 or higher dragon from our deck, which will be the Jet. This can also be Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, it can be the Chaos Emperor Dragon, it can be a lot of different things, but we're going to basically activate that and add that to our hand. I like adding the Jet just in case anything gets destroyed. We can yeah, we can just, if anything gets destroyed, we get to special summon this for free, which is really cool. So this is basically what we've done. And then again, same thing. On our opponent's turn, Mirror Jade, activate, banish a monster our opponent controls, send Titanclad, and since Titanclad is in the graveyard, we are going to, on end phase, be able to summon the Dogmatica Ecclesia, and then search the punishment. So that's something that we're going to be able to do. Again, it's a pretty, like, it's kind of, since it's a control deck, it'll keep building and building and building advantage over a course of time, because even though you have all of these counter traps, it doesn't actually hurt you that much, because all of your monsters are really, really strong and really high in attack. So if you have skill drain on board, it doesn't really hurt all that much. We have Ice Dragon's Prison. We have a ton of different things that can help us continuously tear at our opponent's resources. On top of that, we have these Whitestone of Ancients, and the reason that I play Dragon's Ravine over Dragon Shrine, I'll show you right now, is let's say we go into the following turn, our opponent, like, let's say they destroy these two cards. Obviously, if they destroy those two, Jet comes out, and now our graveyard looks something like this. You can just continuously banish Whitestone of Ancients in order to bounce back Blue Eyes. Then you can activate the Dragon's Ravine to discard that Blue Eyes in order to send another dragon from our graveyard, from our deck to our graveyard, which is going to be this Whitestone of Ancients. So it's basically like continuously having a Dragon Shrine every single turn. It's like a Foolish Barrel every turn if you have the Dragon's Ravine, because you can just activate the Stone of Ancients, bounce back a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and just endlessly send things to the graveyard, which is really cool. But that is basically it. I'm very happy to present this deck profile to you guys. It was very fun to make. Very fun deck to play, actually, despite all of the trap cards in it. And if you enjoyed this deck profile, leave a like, and thank you for watching. La, 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 la.